Hello world, I'm Chris Pirillo, and you're watching another live edition of the LockerGnome Daily Report, or TLDR for short. Your daily dose of geek news, product views, and answers that you can use. So I've got a few things I'd like to cover today. Primarily, my initial impressions on iOS 8, released today. I upgraded and have been using it off and on throughout the morning. And I'll dive into a few of the features, and certainly the ones that I found compelling. Things that were not surprising so much, but generally speaking, my initial impressions. This is not going to be a full-on review, and to remind everybody once again, this is a live video. Likely because we have 933 Supernomies today. Thank you for your support. Without these people, the Supernomies, you can become a Supernomie if you want. Head over to nomies.com or chrispirillo.com. It'll redirect you to that campaign. Makes it easier for me to do these things for you, and so thank you for your support. I really appreciate it. Of course, hello to all my nomies, everybody watching today. That's what I plan on covering, iOS 8, a deeper dive. But first, before that, I want to cover two things. One, to remind everybody that Citrix GoToAssist offers a secure cloud-based solution for IT and customer support professionals to provide live and unattended support remotely to their employees and customers working from any computer or mobile device. For a free 30-day trial, visit gotoassist.com. Do that right now. Now, the second thing I'm going to try, third day in a row now that our personal vlog has been published in the other channel, we're already at 2,000 likes. Like, where is everybody normally for this? Yeah. I'm guessing we'll hit 5,000 pretty quickly, and maybe over time that vlog will top out at 10,000. I think that's what's going to happen. It's the birth vlog of our daughter, Jedi. And Diana brought her into the room a few minutes earlier because every time we bring her in, the bright lights seem to bother her. Yeah. And I'm going to see if we can get through this without her crying this time around. Because honestly, if I bring this baby, oh gosh, is this going to work?
Oh.
What, baby? Is she going? Is she going again?
And I feel a cold breeze right here.
Keep you nice and warm. Yeah. Hey, baby. Yeah, Daddy's breath smells like coffee. So, oh, good. So far, no crying. Hey. Hi. You know me. I was singing to her last night, Weird Al Yankovic. Gonna raise you the right way. So, anyway, as I was saying, hi. Can I continue? Can I do this? If I bring Jedi into the video, it automatically gets better engagement. So, iOS 8 and babies. Yes. 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 I'm talking to the baby right now, not you. I never... Yes, you are. You're so good. You're so good. Yeah, I know. Okay. So, Jedi, once again, our daughter. Beautiful. Oh, and bored. Okay. Remember, J-E-D-I. My mother's name's Judy. Diana's mother's name's Elia. Diana's name is Diana, and child is an individual, and she can decide what the I stands for anyway. Yes. Is that gas? Why do you always get gas with me? Am I rubbing off on you? You are a Pirillo.
Y'all can bond over that.
We will. We will totally have burping contests one day. We will. So, one of the things that I really wanted to cover, and honey, I don't want her to be too uncomfortable. I'm afraid that I want to pay attention to other things. So, okay. Anyway, I love you unconditionally. Keep that in mind. I don't care which device you want to use because it doesn't matter. As long as you're happy, that's all I want for you. That's all I want. That's all I want for anybody, really. There we go, baby. There we go. Oh, she survived without a cry. Okay, I feel better now about that. I feel like a bad parent. It's only been a few days, but I feel like a bad parent. I do something and then she starts crying. I'm like, what did I do? So, one of the reasons I'm bringing Jedi on today, because there's been a slight amount, I want to say of pushback, of concern over her name. Not necessarily the reason we chose it. We couldn't have found a better name. You could not convince me there was a better name for our daughter because we were able to name it after every maternal unit that we have in the family. So there's a deeper significance to the name, apart from, yes, an obvious Star Wars, well, to me, obvious Star Wars reference, which has other reasons aboard. Some people are concerned, however, that she's going to be bullied because of her name. Well, I'm gonna give you a little bit of perspective here. My name's Chris, and I was bullied. Do you know how common the name Chris is? I was bullied. I don't think my parents could have chosen a name for me that would have kept me bully-free. It's not a problem with choosing a name. The problem is that people who bully aren't told that it's not right. Instead of victim shaming, maybe we should be shaming the people who are doing things that they should not be doing. Unacceptable behavior. So that's how I choose to respond to people who are afraid. It's almost like people are bullying me because of the choice, because they're afraid that my daughter's going to get bullied. So that's how you respond, by bullying yourself. You might be concerned. You may know people who have names that aren't as common who get bullied because of their names. But I tell you what, even if we named her, let's say Diana, kids would find a way to make fun of her. You're oh, shorty, or oh, your hair is so black. Stupid reasons, has nothing to do with the name. My name is Chris, and I was bullied. If that does not explain my perspective on why it just doesn't matter what we decide to name our daughter, because we're happy, we're not going to change our minds. And despite how many people are, I think it's a vocal minority who just have a problem seemingly with other people's choices, and maybe you want to just defend our daughter for us. That's fine. Thank you. I appreciate the support, but changing a name isn't going to stop a bully from doing bullying things. I don't know what else to tell you, because my name was Chris, and I got bullied. If it's not one thing, it's another. Bullies need to change their behavior, and they need to be put in their place. That's all I got to say. I mean, you just can't you take someone's ability to stand on their own away from them before they've had a chance to stand on their own. We don't know what stresses kids are going to face 10 years from now, 20 years from now, likely going to be the same. Bullying has been with us long before anybody was born here watching this video. Bullying's been around forever. Doesn't make it right. And Celendrian, I got to give her credit for this. She posted, it was in an Instagram feed, and I appreciated someone else had posted something yesterday about it, and people keep hammering, oh, she's going to get bullied, she's going to get bullied. I'm like, you know what? Well, that's the bully's problem. It's not the child's problem. You know, it's all, don't blame the victim. Don't blame the victim. I have a big problem with people who do that. If you're going to point a finger at anybody, stop the behavior from happening or admonish the behavior. Celendrian had a perfect response. I'm just going to read it because I shared this on social last night, a screenshot. She replied to someone, said, sad story, but her name wasn't the issue. Mean kids were. The solution is not to never give children, quote unquote, unusual names. The solution is to teach children it is never okay to make fun of or bully others. And you know what, Celendrian? I'm going to take that a step further. It's not okay for adults to do that. Whether you're a victim of a bully in the real world, quote unquote, the real world, offline or online, a bully's a bully's a bully's a bully's a bully. They're doing it because they have a problem. Obviously. They have a problem, and they try to make it your problem. This is my problem that I have with bullies. I'm like, hey, step off. What's your problem? What do you have a problem with me for? Jealousy? I don't know. Maybe you have a horrible home life. I don't know. Don't take it out on me. Not my problem. It's just like someone getting upset at someone else because they decide to use iOS 8 instead of iOS 7. Oh, you iOS 8 user, you horrible person. Because I choose to use something on my own device that I paid for on my account that it's for me, that makes me happy. Yes, but you're not using what I'm using, and it's different. You know what? Here's the thing I've learned in 40 years on this planet. Different is normal. Okay, now that I've beaten a dead horse, doesn't matter what your name is. It doesn't. Bullies are going to find a way to exploit what they perceive as a weakness. It's the way it is. Period. End of story. Names have nothing to do with it. And trust me, I've met more adults who act like children than I have, quote-unquote, children, who have a higher degree of maturity, even at a younger age. Their emotional maturity seems to have progressed in a better fashion than many adults that I have the unfortunate opportunity to interact with on a regular basis. The older you get, the less excuses you have. I'm sorry, fewer excuses. I should correct myself there. Not to be a grammar Nazi, I just corrected myself. All right, now, getting into the fun part, now that I've laid it out there and said something about bullying, you know me, I've been an advocate of stomping it out for years, and I will not accept any kind of bullying behavior in this community. Will not, cannot, no one should. No one should tolerate that behavior. If you see something, say something. And if you're a victim of a bully, trust me, you know. If you're a victim of a bully, number one, you're not alone. Number two, it's not your problem. You're not the one with the problem. The bully is. The bully is the one with the problem. Keep that in mind as they try to tear you down and rip you to shreds because you love Star Wars, or because you love Minecraft, or because you love playing video games, or because you love something that they don't love. That is their problem, not yours. And it feels like if you're getting beaten down physically, emotionally, in whatever way. Number one, you're not alone. Number two, it's not right. Number three, it's probably not your fault. Now, I'm not saying if you're instigating something, it's not your fault. I can't do that. But if you've done nothing other than to live your life and to be yourself and pursue happiness on your own, and you're still being bullied, that's their problem, not yours. And you need to remember that. And I'm talking to you. Because I do not tolerate any amount of bullying in this community. It's one of the reasons I don't really have a chance to spend a lot of time on tech, because it seems to bring out the worst in people. Honestly, that's the worst part about covering technology, is I want to cover it from my perspective and someone who wants to bully me because I don't have the same perspective as they do. This isn't a religious war, people. You know, if you want to tear someone else down for their choices, do it elsewhere, not here. This is safe ground. And woe be unto the person who does anything to my daughter. Because, trust me, that I will not stand for. I'll sit for it. Because I don't really stand a lot. Trying to tension breaker there. Seriously, dude. All right, iOS 8. Shall we talk about it? I know everyone out there, skip to this part where it gets interesting. Everything else, he was actually being smart. Now he's going to talk about something that everybody already knows. All right, so iOS 8, huge for developers according to Apple, massive for everybody else. You know, upgraded it, had some hiccups initially. It rebooted and then seemed to have frozen, and so I did a hard reboot, and it was just fine. Pulled up the start screen. Listen to me, I'm not using a Windows device. I feel like the dad from Back to the Future. So, yeah, iOS 8, brand new. Do I recommend downloading it? If only for security alone, yes. However, I think you would be fine in waiting, certainly in certain aspects of upgrading to iOS 8. One of the questions, this is something you got to keep in mind. You may have already skipped past this, and I kind of did, and I will survive. One of the questions you get in the setup process for iOS 8 will really only impact you if you use more than one iOS device. So if you have, or just Apple device. If you have a Mac, and you have an iPad, and you have an iPhone, an iPod Touch, if they're all using iOS, they'll ask you, Apple will ask you, do you want to upgrade to iCloud, the version of iCloud that they're going to be rolling out, iCloud Storage or iCloud Drive. Sorry, that's the brand. They'll ask you, do you want to upgrade to iCloud Drive? Oh, it sounds nice. Okay, sure, why not? I like upgrading. Click. Here's the thing. If you upgrade to iCloud Drive right now, there's a chance that some of the apps that rely on the traditional version of iCloud for storage may break. And it was an all-or-nothing thing that Apple made the decision on. And some developers are warning you, if you rely on certain apps that use iCloud for storage, do not upgrade to iCloud Drive. You can do it at some point in the future. Eventually, those apps will likely support iCloud Drive. If those apps do not support iCloud Drive, I would not use those apps anymore, because iCloud Drive is pretty much going to be the future. Moreover, there's another thing to keep in mind. OS X Yosemite, which has not yet been released, we're probably a month or so away from that going final for the Mac, desktops and laptops, does not yet have iCloud Drive support either. So all of your devices have to support, or should support, and all of your apps should support iCloud Drive before you upgrade. Me, I live on the bleeding edge. I decided, why not? I'll upgrade. What's the worst that can happen? And then my phone melted. No, it didn't melt. But that's basically the bottom line. That's the one step I would tell you to pay attention to in particular. Know that when you are on iCloud, when you're using your Apple ID, if you don't know what iCloud Drive is or how it will benefit you, just skip it for now. At some point in the future, you'll be able to upgrade it. It's independent from iOS 8 in the sense that you don't need to upgrade your iCloud Drive from the classic version to the new version. That's the step I would probably recommend you skip unless you like living on the bleeding edge like me and say, sure, why not? I'll give it a shot. So that's if I have a caveat to this, it would be watching your step there. Then in running through it, I wouldn't say that I stumbled too much. I've got an iPhone 5S. I've noticed some in certain places some amount of stuttery animations. For example, if I pull down a spotlight search and then kind of tap away, I wouldn't say the animation is as fluid going out as it was going in. Going in, it was like snappy, but going out, it was kind of like it didn't. Here, I don't want to do any kind of wacky search. The animation kind of stutters out. That's one thing. iPhone 5S. I also noted that the same kind of stutteriness in an animation in the weather app. When you go from the fan blades of the different cities to one city, the animation on open, as well as the going back to the list is smooth, but the animation going from the list mode to the city, animation seems to be stuttery. This is what I noticed, people. You're asking me, I'm just telling you. I don't know if iOS 8 has been fully optimized yet. 8.1 may likely do better, much like 7.1 was better than iOS 7. And likely I will find other stutteriness on the iPhone 5S. I would imagine that with a better processor and more power in iPhone 6 and the 6 Plus, some of those stuttery, animation transitions will have been mitigated through a faster processor. I have understood from two different reviews that there are some places within the iPhone 6 Plus compared to the iPhone 6 where animations are stuttery as well. I would expect those to be addressed in an 8.1 update. Theoretically, who knows if I can't be the only one seeing these things. I can't. Because otherwise, I would say that anything that I've used it for, it's been relatively smooth. I haven't even had a chance to explore every one of the features in iOS 8. But outright, for the most part, I would say, yeah, I think you'd be fine in upgrading. I had a chance to edit a photo, a screenshot that I took and shared earlier today on Twitter. I had already downloaded and was ready to install the iOS 8 update. And iOS basically said, hey, there's an update available. Do you want it? I'm like, look at the background, dude. Like, I already have it. So the cropping tool changed. I haven't quite figured out the nuances around it, but it seems to be a little easier to use than previous cropping tools or the previous cropping tool. But there's been a pretty big upgrade to Photos. Haven't had a full chance to explore it, but given that I do use the Photos app on a regular basis, I am looking forward to those changes. I went to send Diana a message, an audio message, to say, hey, I'm about to start TLDR. Do you want to come up here with Jedi? And was going to send her a voice message. But I can only currently, even though we're both using iMessage, I can currently only send her a text message. Now, I'm guessing it's because she hasn't upgraded to iOS 8. Once she has upgraded to iOS 8, we should be able to send voice messages back and forth, much like we could if we used Facebook Messenger to communicate. There are other bits of information from within the messaging app that might be valuable as well. The details pane where normally you tap it in iOS 7, you get a call, information, and another icon. Now you get pushed off to a separate page. Those icons exist there. You could also see where that person is if there's someone who has shared their location with you and Find My Friends. You can choose to send your current location, share your location. It's very, very handy, especially for when you're trying to coordinate with someone. So I think that the way they've addressed this is it's a great extension of what was a pretty decent messaging app on iOS in general. There's now a granular Do Not Disturb button. So if you're tired of someone calling you in the middle of the night and they keep doing it and they just don't understand that you don't want that, you can just set that number or that contact to Do Not Disturb. You also get a list of your previously sent, at this time, your previously sent media, like images and or potentially videos or voice messages, which is quite nice because previously you'd have to scroll up through messages to find that stuff, and now you would have that at the deeper level with messages. Some of the bigger value of messages won't even come in or come into play for another few months. Some of the features of iOS 8 on its own, as well as in relation to OS 10 Yosemite, the upcoming version of OS 10, they're not fully baked yet. For example, when I text with my green friends or the friends who aren't using iMessage, they're just sending by way of SMS. Currently, I can only get those messages on my iPhone. But an update will allow me to get the messages on the phone as well as my desktop, and that update is not yet available. They updated a few design and usability features throughout iOS, more actionable notifications, widgets in the notification center, that you can go in and toggle. They may even be app specific, so you can choose to turn off or on widgets at random. You can move them up or down. I think the notification center is the perfect place to place widgets. You can take action on a notification if it allows for you to take action on a notification. Love that. Some new features in mail as well. Not just a slightly different interface, but more features as you slide to take action on an item. The multitasking view now has like a list of favorites and recents at the top of where it was normally blank in iOS 7. You now have a list of favorites and recents up there. And that's kind of nice to be able to quickly get to someone instead of, and honestly, I think that's about the easiest way I would think of, okay, I need to get to Diana, and I have to get used to going to the favorites, double tapping the home button, getting to the multitasking list, and then tapping Diana. Quicker way than diving through messages or trying to find her name in the list of messages. So a few of those details I think will become more apparent the more I use iOS 8, but definitely a few of those features jumped out at me almost right away. Something that didn't jump out at me right away was the new keyboard that is now in iOS 8, and one of the bigger features of iOS 8 is that you now can switch keyboards at will. There are a lot of new keyboards that have already been released that you can use on iOS 8. I have not tried any one of them. I might try one of them. If you guys have a recommendation for a keyboard, let me know. By the way, this presentation has been updated or should be updated, so I'm going to go ahead and run through the list here to make sure all these super nomies get the credit they deserve. The only thing that jumped out at me with the new keyboard was specifically it would suggest contextually appropriate words. So as I'm typing in, you get a list of it's a new feature for iOS. It's not a new feature if you've seen this in other mobile operating systems. I'm not sure. I like how it animates. I like how the words kind of populate. I'm not sure if I'm going to be using it as regularly as you might. It just takes some getting used to because I'm used to iOS and the way the keyboard has worked in the past. But I don't see any reason why this is a detriment. It's a feature that you can toggle at will. Another thing that I was prompted with, and this is kind of neat. I love this. I just started, I have a family, right? But we got a kid. Now, the kid is probably not going to have her own iOS or Android or Windows Phone or any device. She's not going to have her own probably until, and I reserve the right to take this back. I don't know, this is going to come back to haunt me. Later in life is all I'm going to say. Because if I say, let's say I throw out one number and then she gets to be that old. Oh, you said on September that here's the video. Ha ha. She loves my shirt, by the way, because I'm her Vater. Bam. She was staring at it. I'm trying to acclimate her to the whole Darth Vader thing. And Vater, of course, is the Dutch word for father. So I am her Vater. Her Vada. She can call me whatever she wants. Family sharing. Getting back to the feature on iOS 8. Family sharing was a feature that you can now enable. I've invited Diana. She hasn't necessarily accepted yet, but the idea is that you can share your purchases with family. So things you bought on iTunes, iBooks, the App Store. You can even keep your photos, calendars, locations, etc. up to date in an easier fashion with family sharing. This is going to be, again, one of those features that if you have a family, it's going to make it more likely that if one person has an iOS device and another person has an iOS device, then because of the easy use of interoperability with data, it's going to be likely that the entire family would have an iOS device because they're going to be able to share the licenses for all the content, which again becomes valuable when I buy let's say a movie, and instead of Diana having to buy the movie separately or Jedi buying a movie separately at some point, it'll just be on one account and they'll be able to share it through this account sharing. And then of course having a family calendar is also a pretty wonderful thing. In fact, I am considering switching my default calendar. I haven't gone to iCloud for the calendar, but I'm thinking specifically because of family sharing, going that route because Diana and I often have to set the same appointments, and it's usually, she needs to know what I'm doing at any given time. That the family calendar may end up being my default calendar, if only because we can keep up to date without necessarily having to duplicate things or miss any kind of appointments. iCloud Drive is a new feature that's going to make it easier for you to get to all your files on all your devices. I'm not sure how long. I don't know if I'm going to use this as much as other people. Most of my documents really sit on Google Drive, and I'm fine with that. I'm happy with that. I don't really track individual files either. If I did this with anything, I might do it with photos and media. If I did it with anything, I don't keep a lot of any type of personal video I do. This is kind of weird, I know. Any personal video I do, my home movies, effectively, my videos, are either the live videos I do on YouTube like this or the vlogs. the vlogs are my movies, right? So I've got backups of those, and of course they're on YouTube and have been there. So I don't know if this is as useful for me. It may be useful for individual apps, so that the developers don't have to write the code to support the files the way they need to support the files. It's just going to make it easier. It's Apple's version of Dropbox for the most part. Not exactly truly cross-platform, although it will be supported on Windows. But you also should know that iOS 8 has the ability for third-party developers to write extensions for it, such that instead of using iCloud Drive, you could use Dropbox, or theoretically you could use OneDrive. You could use, if Google makes it possible, you could use Google Drive as your storage provider. So Apple's made it open in that sense. I mean, they don't have to open up their operating system to make it open for developers. So I think they've taken the right step with that, and that's just from a high-level overview. Again, I don't know if I've figured out how or where I'm going to use iCloud Drive. I use Dropbox for some things. I use Google Drive for other things, and I'll probably figure out another use case for iCloud Drive altogether. Let me go ahead and kick this in. Health, another new app, a default app that comes pre-installed. Currently, I have nothing in Health, so I'm not healthy. I don't have any apps that really track my health, so to speak. But this is pretty much like a point where all the apps that would tie into your health through the Health Kit, platform or the API, if developers use it. Although I hear that there was a bug with Health Kit, and they pulled some new Health Kit apps from the App Store, and they may not come back for a week. Just FYI. But that's kind of neat. And of course, this is a precursor to Apple, the Apple Watch, and potentially other devices that you currently have that would support Health Kit as the API, the application programming interface, the thing that makes it possible for third-party app developers to interface, and then put that data into one location so it's easy to get to, and I like that. So you can keep using your favorite app. You can still use, likely, your favorite device. It's just iOS 8 will make it easier through the Health app. And that's kind of neat to have that. Of course, they're not the first platform to really do this. Samsung, I think, is to be applauded for, putting something out there before Apple did. I can't speak to the fit and finish of either one because I haven't used either one extensively. I've just used them on a very basic level. Although, I got to tell you, if anything would get me to use Health, I now, believe it or not, I see that, I'm like, oh, God, that's kind of neat. I'm like looking at what I can track. I'm like, okay, body measurements, all right, fitness, me, nutrition, results, sleep, visits. Boy, this is crazy. Like it depends on which app you have installed. It'll tell you kind of, it'll give you information, so it can track a lot. This is potentially useful, very, very useful information. Because, hey, you've got all these devices tracking you. At least you should be able to read it or access it in such a way that it's easy to understand. Another feature that's in iOS 8 that is not yet really available, unless you're taking part in the beta program for Yosemite, continuity. That's another thrilling part. That's when the SMS messaging comes in. So potentially, if you have a Mac and you plan on upgrading to Yosemite, I do plan on upgrading, and you have an iOS device with iOS 8, it's going to get even better. So it's like if you have an iOS device that can be upgraded to iOS 8, like I said, there's some jank to it. In some spots, it feels like it wants to be like Android for some reason. I don't know why. The animations, I'm like, really? This is like Android 2.2. Like Google's licked this problem by 4.4. It's still rough around the edges, but I do believe that for the most part they've made some incremental improvements that should translate into better usability. They just need to go, I would say, a few steps further to make it easier for people to use in general, and they'll get there eventually. Spotlight's improved as well, so you get web searches, you get other information that previously wasn't necessarily indexed, easier way of jumping to maps, easier way of jumping to movies, if that data is the data you're trying to pull up, which sometimes I might be, looking for a movie review or looking for movies in theaters. You can do Wikipedia searches. It's a better Spotlight, no doubt about it, tracking a lot more data. But there's also a better Spotlight version that's coming in OS X Yosemite as well, so I'm very much looking forward to that too. You should be able to upgrade most of your newer iOS devices, going all the way back to the iPhone 4S or the iPod Touch 5th generation or the iPad 2. If your device is older than any of those devices, then iOS 8 will not even be able to be installed on your iOS device. For the most part, there's nothing that's jumping out at me as something like, there's certainly some things I'm like, I don't know if this has yet been fully optimized for the experience, and maybe there's still a few more bugs running around. I would expect 8.1 to be better than iOS 8, but that would not keep me at this stage from recommending an iOS upgrade, keeping that iCloud Drive upgrade caveat in mind. There are a few other things you've likely seen a million reviews, you've read web pages. Try it for yourself if you want. Like I said, I've been using iOS 7 pretty much from day one. Was not happy at all with iOS 7. Did not like it. iOS 7.1 was better. I'm happier with iOS 8 at the onset more than I was happy with iOS 7 at the onset, if that tells you anything. And I was not a fan of iOS 7 at all. I'll tell Apple where they're screwing up. Here's another. Okay, I got to check this. Notes had some amount of skeuomorphism in the previous version. Like, yeah, there's still the texture's still there. I don't get it. Why is there texture on Notes, yet there's no texture on any other of devices? I thought skeuomorphism was out. It just doesn't make any sense to me that the compass looks like a compass on the icon. Like, are we abstracting this? Are we not abstracting it? What's going on? I don't know. I think that Apple's design has gone far, but it just hasn't gone far enough. I still see a fair amount of sloppiness. Sorry, iOS 8 is I wouldn't say any better in that respect. Maybe a bit more polished in terms of features, but I'm still not. There's some things I'm like, really? What I can't wait for, and this is not an Apple thing, Unicode after it passes the new emoji, I can't wait. This was talked about a few months ago. It was big news. They're going to be creating, and Apple will likely be supporting the new emoji standard, or the character set. No new emoji in this release that I can see, but the middle finger is coming. That's a part of the new series of emoji. That I guarantee, I bet you two most popular emoji on the planet will be the middle finger and poop. Those I can almost guarantee. Come on, we're humans. We love our middle fingers and poop. That's what we do as human beings. So no new emoji for those who are wondering. Plenty of other new features as well. Very small additions that could make for a better experience potentially, including in one of the apps that I use most regularly, and that would be Mail. I don't want to pull up a specific message, but there's an easier way of adding someone as a contact, getting information pushed to the top of the message rather than seeing it buried within the message. So it may make getting through emails an easier task for you if you're someone who uses the Mail app on a regular basis. So that's really all I wanted to say. Some of the high level overview of iOS 8, which you likely knew. I've had a good experience so far. And I think that it was worth upgrading. I will be upgrading my iPads as soon as I wrap up this video and do today's live Q&A with you and me. I'm like shaking my hand everywhere. That's the next video I'm going to be recording, and that video is going to be on a topic. What baby tech would you produce? Oh, God. Okay, I got to go off on this. I know only parents are probably going to be interested in my take on baby tech, but let me tell you. I'm going to set the stage. I am so disappointed with just about every piece of baby tech that I've found. I'll get into it. I'll get into a lot of the things that I would change. Anyway, at this time, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. Thanks again for all of your support across the board. I really do appreciate it. We appreciate it at every level, all my nomies and the super nomies. You guys are wonderful people, and you gals are wonderful people too. I really, really do appreciate it. Thanks for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, watching even more of our videos right now, watching the vlog if you want. I do have to, by the way, to all the super nomies, and I realize I should have said this earlier, I'm going to have to do a series of like 3 or 4 hangouts with y'all this month because I've been really crazy, but I want to make sure you guys get to hang out with the family now. I don't know when the next one or the first one's going to get scheduled, but I'm going to do my best to do a handful of hangouts with you. If you're one of the super nomies at a certain pledge level, you'll be able to hang out with me virtually and my wife and potentially Jedi if she's behaving. We will see. And I'll record it so that people can watch the hangout as well. It's just been a little crazy around here, so thank you for your patience. Thank you for your support. At this point, I'm going to leave you to your own devices. We'll see you later.